Yeah, I think there's a link that takes people to that pop-up. The host has another meeting in progress. I've joined using the meeting ID and it worked for me. So yes, Zoom user, you are right.
Did I Zoom bomb another class?
I
see Ty and Shubhra. Sorry, I think I'm in the wrong Zoom.
Oh, well.
Carol, you're in the right place. Don't go anywhere.
Oh, Jim, there you are. Okay.
Carol, this is where you're supposed to be.
Oh, there is everyone else. My screen, what I was saying was Shubha and Ty, and I was sure this one. Okay, good. Thanks. Hi, Ty, you're welcome. Hi, Shubha. Hi, everyone. Hi. Let me go quiet.
Hi there. Hello, Carol.
Hi. How do I go mute again? No, don't leave meeting console. Stay and.
Are there more people that we're waiting for? I just want to know.
Who's counting?
I just want to know, that's all. So that then I can ask.
Hi, Shubhra.
Hi.
Hi, I think this is everyone. I think there was a couple of problems with the link, but we should have part-time 5, part-time 4, and then other people from the public in the CodeOp community here.
Oh, awesome.
So whenever you want to, feel free to kickstart.
Okay, sounds good. Well, welcome everyone who's joining us. I am the instructor for part-time 4, and I have all of our cohort here, and I'm excited to introduce them. We have 4 teams, and they will be presenting their projects. Each team comprises of 3 cohort members, and I believe everyone knows when they're up, so I will let the first team introduce themselves.
Just about timing. So
Yes,
each team
and-
has 20 minutes, and I'll give you a very gentle hint when you have 5 minutes left.
Yes, so we are timing you. So please divide that time between your team members while you're presenting. We would like to hear from everyone. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll share my screen.
Do you want to just, yeah,
could
okay.
you enable screen sharing, please?
Oh, this isn't me now.
Oh, isn't it?
I know I forget it every single time, but this time I'm not the host. So
Who's the host?
Hi.
just like to clarify that it happens every single time.
Is it Ametha?
You can go.
Oh,
I
okay.
think it's
Thank you very
Ruth.
much. Thank you. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. Slideshow from beginning. Okay, over to you, Julie.
Sure. So welcome everyone. So yeah, today I'm going to introduce you where our coding adventure has taken us. So here we go with Work With Me. And I'm going to give a quick introduction of the team. If you let me, yeah, perfect. Thank you, Maisie. So the team was composed of Maisie, Reese, and myself. And just to give you a quick overview of what we've been working on, Maisie has mainly been focusing on the front end of the app, as well as the linking front and back end, and also working on the APIs. So choosing them wisely and making sure data is coming correctly in the way we want it. Reese has been mainly focused on the back end, as well as the authentication. And for myself, I've been working on the front end, creating components, the routes, as well as the front and back end linking. Also on, sorry, if you can go back, Maisie.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you. So yeah, linking front and back end, as well as taking care of the project management. So the roadmap, making sure all the tasks are defined, that we're on time, and making sure that, yeah, like that everything we are hoping to do is being achieved. Yeah, what is Work With Me? So where is the idea coming from? It's an idea coming from the pandemic, actually. So right now there is many people working from home, having remote jobs. And we thought, well, why not work from home, but together? So Work With Me is enabling people to offer a workspace at home or to join an already existing working bubble. So the end users are mainly anyone working from home, having a remote job, and, yeah, being based at home, and willing to share their working days with other people, other workers. So for the project management tools we've been using, we mainly use Jira to help us design a roadmap that we're going to see on the next slide. And this roadmap has really helped us to set deadlines, to set tasks and child tasks as well. And really split the tasks and also really follow up every day, being able to flag what's done, what's left to be done and all this. We've had some daily catch-ups on Zoom, as well as we were making some daily stand-ups. So here is an overview of the roadmap we were using. So there were some front-end tasks, some back-end tasks, some linking both, like I said. Also some more admin tasks, such as creating user flow diagram or the README file, creating the app or creating this presentation. So everything was linked there, and we could really see everything. Have a good overview. Here are like the technologies we've been using. So it's an overview. Most important thing is that we've been designing the app for the front end on React.js. The APIs we've been using are Leaflet.js as well as MapQuest. To help us find the right maps and also find coordinates that Maisie will explain later. As for the backend, we've been using MySQL, JSON Web Token, and bcrypt for the authentication. And for the design, it was mainly done with Bootstrap. So here a bit more, like let's go more into the app. So here is the user workflow. So we've been trying to have it as simple as possible, as intuitive as possible. So when a user enters the app, he can either join or create a bubble, a working bubble. If he chooses to create a bubble, then he's being asked to fill in a form. And then the new bubble created is then added to the backend and visible on a map. If on the other hand, the user is choosing to look for a bubble, to look for a place to work, he's going to be able to look for bubbles in this area on a map and then find results and ask to join this bubble. Now I'm going to let Reese explain more a bit about the database and all the backend.
Okay, so as Julie explained, we've been using MySQL for the database. We'll see in the next slide what the current database looks like, as well as bcrypt and JSON web tokens just for the authentication. For the bcrypt is mainly used to hash the passwords before it gets stored onto the database, and the JSON web tokens is just to ensure that each person that is logged in is who they say they are, and that they are able to access different parts of the website. That is only for members. Next slide. So this is the two main databases we've been using. First, users. We've used username, first name, last name, postcode, email address, and the number of workstations needed, as well as bubbles, which are individual locations where people can go and work. So it includes first name, location, the number of workstations, and then a list of Booleans stating if there's Wi-Fi, is it pet friendly, kitchen friendly, is it a quiet space, is it wheelchair friendly or wheelchair accessible, and if people are able to smoke in that area. These were the only two databases in the MySQL that we've been using thus far. So the main features include finding existing bubbles from with dynamic search. That also goes into the bubbles that are in the database, and it looks for whatever you're looking for. It makes sure to find those that fits those criterias, and it also allows you to create your own bubbles with those features. So anytime you decide to create a bubble and you check off the list of whether it has Wi-Fi, if it's wheelchair accessible, it gets added into the database. Future features would be an inbox so that users can at least speak to each other before they decide to come to the other person's house or wherever location that they're at. Also a user profile so that people have more of an idea of what the other person or what the other bubble looks like. Reviews on different bubbles just so people have an idea of what the culture of it is, and allowing to create a bubble community. And because this is entirely made because of the pandemic, we'd like to add proof that the person is COVID negative before joining a bubble. Future features would also include linking the authentication, as it couldn't be implemented before our time ran out. There was also issues with bcrypt, in that bcrypt is specifically for C++ languages, and so I had to install bcrypt.js for React.js, and also getting the HTTP requests fixed up to the front end.
Okay, I'm going to show you the app now. So let me just exit the screen. Can you see the website?
Right now, no.
No.
See the presentation.
Oh, okay. Let me just pause the share and start again. What about now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So this is our app. This is our landing page. So in the top, we've got a nav bar. We've got a few different links to a few different pages. We've also got an admin view and a login and a registration button that we're going to hopefully implement over the next few days. So if we start on About, we get an overview of what Work With Me is. So as Julie said, it's a result of the pandemic. And at the bottom here, we've got two buttons like the ones on the landing page. So one will help you find a co-working bubble, and the other one you can use to create a co-working bubble. So I think we should have a look and see if we can find one first. So for the sake of the demo, I'll type in Barcelona, but you can also type in a postcode or a really specific address. But I'm going to just type in Barcelona and we'll see if there's any co-working bubbles there. So we can see that there are a few. We've got Barbara's bubble with 3 workstations, Linda's bubble, and Carlos's. And if you zoom out a little bit more, we can see a couple around Barcelona, one near Madrid, and even further, we've got a couple in the States, and yeah, dotted all over the world, really. So yeah, I'm gonna just show you how to create a bubble and ensure that it gets on the map. So here we would just type in our first name. So I'm gonna type in CodeOp, and location, as I said, we can do postcode, address, or general area. So I'm going to type in Barcelona. How many workstations can we offer? Let's do 4. And here are the features that we can tick. So do you have Wi-Fi? Let's tick yes. Do you accept pets? Have you got kitchen space? Do you have a quiet space where people can make phone calls or have conferences? Are you wheelchair friendly? We'll tick yes for that one as well. And if we click create a bubble, it will say, hi CodeOp, your bubble's been created. You've got 4 workstations to offer, and you can see there's ticks next to all of the features that you've ticked. And then there's an option here to check the map. So we can go on the map and check that the bubble has actually been added. Oh. Sorry, that wasn't supposed to happen. Okay, we do have a recording of it that we could share instead. What do you think, Julie?
Just try again, maybe just go and find a bubble just to see if it could work. If you go and find the bubble.
Okay, find a bubble.
To see, because you managed to add it, I think, so.
I did, yeah. Oh, it's here, sorry about that.
Yeah, it's here.
Yeah,
CodeOp is there, yeah.
So yeah, there we go. And I'm just gonna quickly show you the admin view where we can see the bubbles that we've added. And obviously this won't be available to the public, but we could delete the bubbles. So we'll try deleting Carlos's and Andreas. And here are the login features and the registration feature. There we go. I'm just going to go back to the PowerPoint. I think I'm going to have to stop sharing and reshare. Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect.
Brilliant. Okay. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the APIs that we use. So we use one called MapQuest, and we use another one called Leaflet.js. MapQuest does the forward geocoding for our locations. So it accepts locations and gives us the coordinates so that we can plot it on the map. And Leaflet.js showed us the map. So that's where, well, it provided the map for us. So that allows us to see the locations and the bubbles. And so just a little bit about the API logic. We got the coordinates in 2 different ways. So with the search form where we search for like Barcelona, we had to just use a single API call. So we would put the location in this URL here. So that was easy enough, and it would return the location. Then we could go to that part of the bubble of the map. But for the bubbles from our database, obviously we had quite a few co-working bubbles. So that needed a batch API call. So it would get all of the coordinates of all the locations at once. So this is how it did it. So we first extracted the locations from the bubble data. So we had loads of different bubbles with the names attached, the workstations, whether it's got Wi-Fi, all of that. And we just took the locations from all of them. And then we created a function to add each of the locations from every bubble to our API call. So after this, the API call would then return a list of coordinates. And from that point, we had to reunite the coordinates with the bubble data. So we did that by destructuring some arrays. And using this object, we could then map the markers on the map with the appropriate data. Oh yeah, this was the function that we used to do that. So for every location of the bubbles, we added this string to the URL. So we called it URL part. And you can see here when we fetch that data, we get we call the like base URL, and then we add our own API key to it. And then we add that URL part that we've just modified up here. And that returns the list of coordinates to us.
Yes. So I'm going to just talk quickly about the challenges we've been facing. So of course, one of the main challenges was linking the front and the back end. Somehow, like we went quite positively into the task, but of course there was so many things to fix, like so many issues we ran into, and this took a lot of time, a lot more than we expected. But of course, like we managed to fix it, so that was really rewarding. That was one of the main challenges. Then of course the time differences. Maisie and I, we are based in Europe, but Reese is based in the US. So of course we had like 5 or 6 hours difference, so that's never easy. And then another challenge, maybe if Reese want to explain a bit more, the authentication. If you wanna, I don't know, quickly explain the main challenge with this.
So the main issues with authentication came from using bcrypt. As I stated before, the general bcrypt that I was trying to use works much better with C++ language. And because we're using React.js, I had to switch over to bcrypt.js. Not only that, but for some reason, when registering a user, while the registration would go through just fine, for some reason it would switch the email and the username. So the email would be the username and the username would be the email. And it was such a conundrum that I have yet to figure out. And then another issue
5
is,
minutes.
Oh, sorry, I'll talk a little faster then. Another conundrum was just the login features. For a while, the passwords that were being compared, I had to look into the documentation for how to compare hashed passwords, as if you hash a password, so many different times, it could look completely different from the next one. And so authentication was, a big issue that I kept running into time and time again.
Thank you, Reese. However, we also had some positive things, so successes. Getting all this done in the time limit we had, so nearly three big weeks, let's say. So that's I think our main success. Also the fact that we use not only one API as it was requested in the project, we used 2. So that was also quite a good challenge, but a big success for us. And yeah, the fact that we kind of never met face to face, but we were just working remotely, and it's working quite well in the end. So these are the main 3 successes of this adventure. So yeah, I would like to express our thanks to our teachers, to Taina, to Shubra, to Jim, to Amefa for all your time, all your patience, all your help. Also, of course, to all the other course mates. It's been an amazing adventure with all of you. I think we've been supporting each other so much, so that's really meaning a lot. And also to the friends and family that have been supporting and hearing all the stress and testing the app, seeing if it looks good or not. So yeah, these would be my final words. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing all the challenges. I think I will now ask the next team to introduce themselves. You're getting a lot of good comments here. So does anyone have any questions? Are we taking questions or are we moving on? I just wanted to.
We're taking questions if there are any.
Okay, we're taking questions.
Yeah.
So cool. Does anyone have any specific questions? I have one, but I'm waiting for anyone else and then I'll ask mine.
Maybe what was your favorite part of the code, or what the things you learned?
I think the favorite part of the whole app was seeing the bubbles appear on the map. I think that's what took the most time, and it was just such a relief when it was done. Yeah.
My favorite part was just getting the back end working, even if it was for like 30 seconds that it would be working. I'd be like, yes, I've conquered back end. And then another issue would happen. Be like, well, never mind. I guess I'll work on that now. But I genuinely did enjoy working with back end. And I think it's a field I want to go into more now.
Yeah, for me, I would say like it was really when, yeah, like Maisie was saying, when the bubbles displayed on the map and when we fixed that backend issue, which was basically just a semicolon missing at the end of an SQL query. So I think Jim had told us, but still was not enough. We had to spend days on it to find it.
Cool.
I have a question. Could you share what API you used again? I missed the name.
Yeah, sure. It's called MapQuest API. And we also use Leaflet.js. I can put it in the chat.
I'll add it in the chat now.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right. Okay. So I also wanted to know if you could have just used the Google Maps API to do it. Would that have worked?
We did think about that, but I think I've tried to use it in a different project before, and you've also got this issue of billing. You have to sign up for an account and put your credit card information in and stuff. And with it being a 3-person app, that just didn't seem quite, viable for us.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. All right, I just wanted to ask about Leaflet. So since you'd already looked at the Google API, what did you like about Leaflet? What did you find surprising or useful about Leaflet?
I think just the ease of use, really. I found it really easy to implement, and the API calls are just quite easy. So yeah, that was my favorite part about Leaflet. Also, you've got these different layers. You can have different themes if you want to. So you can have a watercolor theme, or just different colors on the maps. Yeah.
Interesting. Cool. Anybody else? Okay. All right, team 4, you're up. Please remember 20 minutes, and that's all.
Hello. I'm going to put up my presentation and share my screen. Share. So our app, oh, I clicked too far. Our app is called Perfect Sunday, and like the previous team, inspired by the pandemic, we, like just about everyone else in our lives, are sick of being locked in our houses and wanting to look forward to future times when we're allowed to go do fun things like listen to bands with a whole bunch of strangers and go to concerts and rediscover our cities that we haven't, that have changed so much over the past year and that are going to come back to life hopefully soon. So it's a tool to discover your city and find local events that are happening. You can search for concerts, festivals, and theater performances happening nearby. And the idea is to kind of help people focus closely on their particularly local area. So, yeah, helping you to find your city. So the idea was that a user would come to the website and want to find out what's happening. First choice is, do they want to find a new thing that's happening now or in the future, or do they want to make an account? So if they want to make an account, they can log in and then use the date picker and map search to find events to save, or they can just use it without logging in or making an account. They can just see what's available in the area in general. So we are Ainsley, Mary, and Mellon. I did the map, and Mary did databases and forms, and Mellon did event APIs and lists. And we made it in React with Node, MySQL, React Router, and Bootstrap. So most of the router for controlling the page changes, Bootstrap for doing the styling, and MySQL for the database. Our API links were OpenCage, Mapbox GL, and PredictHQ. PredictHQ is the one that has all the events in it. It's global, and it has a wide variety of different types of events, everything from your local fun run at the beach on a Saturday morning to an earthquake or political events like elections. So, and it's got a lot of festivals and concerts and things like that. And it's intended to be something for people to help predict demand for their services in an area. So it says it'll help people or companies make decisions based on, oh, there's going to be a big festival, so maybe we should put our Airbnb prices up because there's going to be high demand at this time. But we're using it in a slightly different way because it's such a robust database of so many different kinds of events. I will let Malin talk about the connection between OpenCage and PredictHQ in the future when she talks about APIs. And then we used a bunch of different things for version control and collaboration. So we used Jira, Zoom, and Slack for remote working, planning our work and collaborating, and then GitHub and Git Kraken for version control and making sure that we were collaborating with the actual code effectively. So I'm going to escape out of my presentation and show you the actual app now. So it's really simple homepage. You just arrive and type in an event. It can be a location, a city, or a postcode, and you can choose a date. So if you want to see today, then it will take you immediately to a list of events and the map renders down here. Oh, and I zoomed really far. And once you've searched once, the map shows up on the homepage again. So you can search another place. Great if I could type. And you can search in the future, and it will show you what's happening there. And there's a list. So every time you search, there is a list that you automatically get taken to a page with your search results and the map that shows you where things are. And you can click things that you think about that you'd like to save for future. So if you've searched a future event, you can save them to you will be able to in the future save them to your account and save. I'm going to, so my main responsibility was taking care of the map. We used Mapbox for that because it is like the previous team, Google Maps, you have to pay for it. It doesn't have a generous free tier. It's a little bit more complicated to implement than Mapbox, and Mapbox gives you a lot of freedom in how the map looks and controlling the design and the colors and things like that. So it was a good choice for us for this app because it's pretty accessible and easy to share. One of the challenges I had was implementing it. I think part of was getting the map, after I'd gotten it to render the first time, getting it to refresh on search. So getting it to change when you searched a new location. I spent ages trying to, it would render the initial data, and then when you searched again, the markers would move, but the map itself wouldn't move. So you'd have to like zoom out and then zoom back in on the new location, which isn't really all that functional. So that took some time to work out. And the way we solved that was by using this use effect hook that watches for a change in the props that are passed down from the main app. And there was some fun in setting that up because and another thing that happened was eventually when it was moving, it would move to a random place that was related to a previous search. So we had search issues where if you searched, then one search would affect the other at times. Oh, my slides are slow.
Ainsley, yeah. Sorry to interrupt. You didn't demonstrate the markers that you worked so hard on.
Oh, thank you. Like the map mark. Oh, right. I didn't click the markers. So when you click a marker, it shows you the events. A lot of the, so yeah, it shows you the title of the events. And if it. Why is my mouse not moving? Thanks, Mary.
I think you disappeared there for a short while.
Did I disappear?
Just briefly. You're all back. All good.
Cool. So talked about the search form and the events list. And now I'm going to pass to Malin, I believe. Am I right? Who's going to talk about the way we, sorry. We're going to talk about the database, and I'm going to pass off to Mary about databases and the way we set that up.
Okay.
Mary, would you like to keep on slides, or should I stop
That's
sharing?
fine. I think I'll share my screen actually.
Great.
So you can.
I'll stop. Stop.
Okay. I'm not quite sure how to make this full screen, so I'm not very good at Google Slides. But
we're
yeah.
still seeing names list, I think.
I'm sorry, my Zoom is giving up on me.
I'm pretty sure you guys can see though. Anyway, I think you can see the slide for the database schema. I'm not wrong.
No.
Can everyone see?
No, I see Ainsley's slides still.
Oh, okay. This database schema one should be visible.
Only in the left column.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure what's going on.
As a thumbnail. I think Ainsley needs to maybe restart Zoom.
Yeah, I'm trying to restart Zoom and it's not letting me.
Can Tina, as a host, can you stop this? Can you take over for the screen share? Can you do something like that? Or revoke the privileges for screen sharing on Ainsley? So that might stop her video.
Interesting, because it's not allowing me to stop.
Oh, wow. It's like
I think it's Zoom trying to. Wow.
Oh.
Let me try the.
Because there's a allow sharing, and if you just stop,
Okay.
yeah, there you go. You did it.
So I think Ainsley has to come again because I just.
Oh, you removed her.
It was the only way. Okay.
Oh, well, she might. I don't know if she can join again if you remove her, but hopefully. Okay.
No, she can.
Sorry. If it's okay, I think I'll try to share my screen and continue.
I will
send that's okay.
the link to her again.
Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the initial, sorry, I'm not sure how to make this full screen. As I said, I'm not very good at Google Slides. But
just click on present. You might be able to click on present on the top right.
Oh, thank you, Shubha. Okay, yeah, so this is the original database design that we started with. This had to get amended, but initially we had an idea that we would have two different tables in our database schema, one for users and one for events. So in the users table, we'd have a user ID, which would be auto incremented, and then we'd have first name, last name, username, country. I considered authentication, but I just thought within the time constraints, it may not be possible to implement properly. But it would be a great feature to have. And then in the events table, originally we did want to have event ID, which would also be auto incremented, event artist, event type, event location, event date, event start and end time. And then the user ID would be, these would be relational databases linked by user ID, so that whenever somebody saves an event, it would be saved on their specific profile. Obviously, so that if they come back and they want to see their saved events, they can retrieve them easily from the database once they log in. We had some issues with search and our forms, etc. So this got amended, but this was the general idea. So challenges related to the database, making sure that the correct fields are getting used with the right variable types. We had some issues with the dates and the way that dates are presented on the screen versus how they're submitted to the form. Because I think on our actual search form, they would be inputted by just year, month, date. But when you look at the output from the database, it actually comes in a date and time format, and it was a bit strange. Also, another challenge is updating the database when a search field is removed from the form or the API call changes. So we ended up changing the form and then changing the API calls accordingly. And then we just thought, well, certain fields in our database were not absolutely necessary to have. So updating that was a bit of a challenge. I think I mentioned the date formats already. I also had some issues with Postman not wanting to post results. But strangely enough, I found I made it work completely fine from my app to the database, but for some reason, Postman just wouldn't cooperate with me where that was concerned. So I also created the search forms on the app, and I think maybe I should show you guys what that looks like. So in the nav bar, I also did the retink for the login and sign up forms. So we have a login form here with username and password to log in. And we also have a sign up form where you have first name, last name, username, country. Those are not completely aligned right now. We would definitely have to put those together properly because we haven't got a password field here. But that can come with time. Oops. Sorry, I'm trying to get back to the screen I was at before. Sorry. Ah, here we are. So yeah, I'm going to hand over to Malin now, and she's going to talk a bit about the events API because she was the main person dealing with that. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. I'm just gonna try and bring this up a little bit. Yeah, so we have, so as Ainsley mentioned before, we're using something called Predict HQ, and it's an API that gives back or returns loads of different events. So we have our form set on performance arts and concerts and festivals, but you can get all kinds of data back. And it's free. So it was a pretty easy choice. We did look around at some options, but since it returns so much data that we could work with, we figured it would be the best one.
5 minutes.
Okay. So basically the main issue with the API was that we couldn't search on place name. And obviously for a user, it's a lot easier to search for Barcelona rather than 47 point something. So we needed another API called OpenCage to essentially give us the coordinates that we can use back on the events API. And then we get the events retrieved in this list. So that was a challenge to overcome. I think it's definitely always a learning curve with the APIs and fully understanding the data that is coming back. And then, as I think Mary mentioned, another issue we had was that the map API was using it was built with use effect, and that was also the events API. So we had loads of API calls just happening at the same time. So we obviously had to fix that. And let's see, kind of general challenges and successes. I think that the challenges were definitely, in this case, I would say remote working. And I think that Git and GitHub Git Kraken that we used, obviously understand that it's a good tool and it exists for a reason, but I think there was, a bit of a learning curve to get into that. But yeah, we've also spent some time dividing tasks in the beginning and making sure who's going to do what. But overall, I think it's been a really fun project. I think that everyone really pulled their weight, and yeah, really, really happy with how things have turned out. Does anyone else want to mention something at this stage, team, in terms of the challenges and successes?
I think I'd also like to add in that I guess inadvertently, we didn't really set a person to be the project manager, but I guess I kind of inadvertently became the project manager at a certain point.
Yeah.
Just because I guess we kind of sort of naturally realized over the course of the project that I guess somebody had to kind of pull it all together. And I think that one of the challenges was definitely having different people working on different parts of the project, but then finding a way for it all to fit together, especially just even in terms of continuity of variables. Because I could have called a variable one name in the search form, it could be called something else for the API, and then it could be called something else for the map. So having that kind of continuity was important, but I hope I was a good project manager.
Yeah, you were amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, awesome. Jim, I think we are kind of running out. We just had a list of future features as well, but yeah.
All right, continue.
Yeah, okay, cool. So some of the things that we wanted to do was, as I think Mary mentioned, was connecting the login form so we can actually save the events properly. Another example of good teamwork was that literally an hour before, we were still trying to sort some things out. Everyone's on it, helping out. So that was a lot of fun. And we also wanted to show not only events, but also different restaurants and pubs and so on. And then maybe once, if you get an event back and it's your favorite artist, we also wanted to connect it to Spotify, because they have an API, so that you can maybe start listening to the music straight away. And then, yeah, this was also something for the future, to connect to something like different like online ticketing services, and you can buy a ticket straight away. Yeah, I think that's us from the Perfect Sunday team.
All right. Thank you. Any questions? Please jump in.
Unfortunately, no one has shown any code, because typically we get to see at least a little bit, not the entire app, but a little bit of code from somebody. And
I can show some if we have one moment.
Please do.
But yeah, okay. I was a little bit stressed there about the time, so I didn't focus on it. But okay, so here we're in the app, and this is where we stored the API calls. So this is the first function, and so we're using OpenCage API, and it's bringing in the location, so this is the place name, and then it's also bringing in the date, and yeah, this is the API call. Essentially, what's important here is the main thing is that we're setting the latitude and the longitude, and the other more important thing is that we're also calling the event API with the latitude and the longitude. And this is what we see here, the URL. Yeah, and so of course, if the call is successful, we add the data to this hook, set events, and once we have events, then the list will render. Any questions or?
Nice.
We definitely had a moment early on in this when we had first looked at the first API, we thought that you could search it by location, by like typing in a space.
Yeah.
And at some point, Malin realized that it was not possible, so added OpenCage, and you just did such a good job of bringing that together and figuring how to solve that problem when we hadn't predicted it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Okay, all right. Cool. Next group 1. Are you ready?
Yep, ready to rock and roll.
Okay.
Okay, can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So our group project, so my group is consisted of Marie, Bamed, and I. All three of us are full stack developers. We all worked in parallel of each other based on our different learning paces, and there is a lot of differences in our knowledge. So in order to compensate each other, we decided that it'd be best to work in parallel at the same time of each other to keep each other in check as well. Our group app is a learning cognitive application that aims to assess, educate, and improve the cognitive development for children who have or may have special needs. The concept came about because we saw there weren't any free options for digital resources for families without access to healthcare, childcare, or any educational services. And we hope to make this an open source project so that it can be available to anyone who needs it. In order to keep children safe in regards to user privacy, we decided to ditch our user authentication and authorization for local storage. This prevents any data leak about families who are worried about child safety, as well as the identity of the children. So this keeps them safe. Part of the preparations that went into creating the app was a lot of time was spent heavily on planning, research, learning, interviewing people, testing, and basically just keeping each other in check. We adopted a no person left behind mentality so that there's always a go-to person, and if someone had a blocker, we jump in. It kind of gave us flexibility in terms of if we finish the simple tasks, it gave us the option to add more features and components. And in order to stay on track, we use Jira roadmaps, Jira boards for brainstorming and progress tracking, Google Draw and Google Sheets to communicate and clarify any ideas that didn't make any sense, especially since sometimes English might not be the best language, but visual aids helped a lot when it came to things that we couldn't interpret with each other. And Git Kraken, Git, and GitHub, we utilize both Git and Git Kraken when it came to pushing our repo. And I'll pass it to Prevent.
Hello, everyone. Yes, we started our application from the backend part. Yes, and so this is our database. we had initially we had two tables. We still have two tables, games and player, as our app is games app. So we needed table to save our scores and if the game is completed. And the player table was for the user authentication, but later we decided to use just local storage, and now we are using just games table. And now let me share my screen. Yes, let me show you part of our code. This is our server side, how we were checking if our requests are working correctly. So the main request type was pause, and so this is how it looks like. And let me also show how our request looks like on the client side. In one of the examples here in one of the games. So here is, for example, here we need save a score. We define function first, and then and here we are saving the score in the database. And I think this is all about the database for now. And let me let me pass the word to Marie.
Okay, so I'm gonna talk about the welcome page. This is the landing page where the user will first start. And we, as Donna said before.
It's just me, or I don't hear your audio very well, Mary.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Maybe a little louder.
I can't hear her well.
Yeah.
Louder, please.
Let me see. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, better. Okay. So this is the landing page. It was made, as Donna said, we didn't want to, for security reasons, we did it with the local storage. So this means that when the user writes he or her name, it will be saved in the local storage. And it will persist even if we refresh the page. So even if you close and open again, the data is going to be there for like a customizable experience. When you click play, let's play, it will prompt you to the dashboard where you can see that the name is also reactively showing in the welcome message. So if we go to the code, we can see how this is happening. So I created a hook that in the use state is getting the name of the player. And with use effect, every time this player name is getting updated, the use effect runs again, and it keeps the name updated. This is also in the dashboard component. So that is why if we change the name, let's say to Bermet, it would immediately change here as well. So we had a lot of fun doing this app, as you can see. And one of the things we decided as a team was to create the games with drag and drop. So in this case, the puzzle, you have the image where the child has like, okay, I have to build this. And with the drag and drop, it will take one piece at a time to the second column. And if he or she clicks done, it would say, okay, it will pop a message saying if it's not done correctly, like you give it another try. It's like saying to the child, like, okay, it's not correct, but come on, you can do it again. And this pop-up was made by Donna, so really cool. She really has a really good eye for front end and user experience. And also, I'm gonna show if you get the puzzle done correctly and you click done, it would say, okay, well done, Bermed, you did it, nice job. So it encouraged the kid to play again. The try again button is shuffling the game every time, so it doesn't repeat for the child. We also managed to do the categories game. In this case, the levels get a little bit difficult each time. This is, for example, category 2. So here the child has to drag the vehicle with 4 wheels. And if he or she does it correctly, then it has another pop-up saying, yeah, you did it correctly. So you can try again. And categories 1 is a little bit easier. It's like the animal farms. And in this column, it has only 2 animals. So it's a little bit, let's say, self-explaining. Another feature that was really fun to, but a little bit tricky, was the enabling the drag at certain points, because we didn't want the children to put all the images in just one column, but only the 2 that it is supposed to get. This one was the most tricky one. That's why I'm gonna go a little bit in depth on this one. So they have to match pixels, but the thing is that here, this is the situations game. The logic is that we have an array of objects where we need to loop through the first array and compare it to the second one. But we need to compare the index 0 of each element of the array. So if this index 0, 1 matches the index 0, 1 of group 2, then a matching indexes is created, and it will then push this index to a new array. And that is how when the kid, let's say, matches 2 pixels, in this case, it would say, oh, you solved it 2 out of 4. So this puzzle is a little bit different from the other ones because you don't get to solve it once. You get to solve it 1 out of 4, 2 out of 4, 3 out of 4, or 4 out of 4. So this is why I chose to show you this one. Yeah, so now I'm going to pass the microphone again to Bermet.
Share my screen.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing.
And this is our main home page, and for the external API, we decided to have a weather. So this component displays weather based on our user's location. This is my current location, so it updates it automatically. So for this part, for the location part, we used use effect and geolocation API. And for the weather part, we used our Open Weather Map API that we used during our class. Yes, and it was yeah, really interesting to have it as we are in different countries. It was really interesting to have it with different cities. And now I think Donna will continue.
Can I do a time check real quick?
5.5 minutes.
Okay, I can do this. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So one of the things that I learned from my MVP was that I needed to double check to make sure everything rendered on different browsers. So I had both Firefox and Chrome browsers open every time I did the front end. And a little bit about the front end. As I mentioned before, there was a lot of UX and UI research. All the designs was based on an actual test assessment for testing children nonverbal cognitive abilities. And a lot of the research also came from the Child Mind Institute in New York City, actual interviews with therapists in the Netherlands, in New York City, and with special education teachers in public schools in New York City, and parents who have children with special needs across the spectrum. So that was very time consuming. It was like very educational, since the three of us don't really have a background in this, and it gave us a better understanding of what to create for them. As mentioned, a lot of the UX design was put with the perspective of what motivates the child to stay engaged. And a lot of the things that came up was that you needed interactivity. So if you click anything here, you have a lot of interactiveness. There's a lot of buttons for them to press. There's directions for them how to play the game. There's also different, like a lot of engaging friendly colors to make them feel comfortable. There's nothing aggressive in it at all. And the other thing that was very interesting was a fun fact that for children with high functioning learning disabilities, you can't have the same images because they'll actually cause a false progress report. And that was really interesting. The next thing was, so if you check here, everything is within 3 clicks of going from point A to B. So if you want to go to puzzles, you go to puzzles, and then you go to 1, 2, like you can switch out anywhere from the sidebar to keep it minimal and accessible. And even when you play the games, it's within 3 clicks, just to keep them engaged without having to lose interest. What was the other thing? One of the things that we want to show you is that we do have a point tracking system for a reward system, as well as for parents and therapists and teachers to keep track of for the score. This was very interesting to create. I'll show you the quote real quick. So here I had to create an initial state for games to enter into an empty array. And I used use effect on our database to pull the game score from a column. And in order to make sure that I was pulling the right data, I double check and left myself breadcrumbs so I can check in the console log in the browser. And then when I got the correct data that I needed, I basically mapped it to get the array of game scores and created a function to add all the scores together using the reduce method. And then I returned a JSX element, which renders all the way at the bottom. Oh, and another thing, one of the things that we emphasized a lot was very clean and high really readability code. That was very hard to keep, but we kept that up because with all our different learning curves, we need to make sure everything is understandable and nothing was confusing. And then same thing with the CSS, everything is labeled and commented to make sure everyone understands what is going on. And I just wanted to show you a little bit more about like some of the things we did. So situations was like the most fun part for me because of the function that Marie already explained of like you do a couple of the puzzles and you get one of 4, 2 of 4. So the tricky part was getting to extract the number of this. I'll go back to drag and drop. Okay, you're not there. Situations, here we go. And everything's organized in its component folder. So for here, it was really tricky because I couldn't figure out how to pass the game score for the current game. I remembered how to use effect, and then I had a brain fart and forgot that you can just use a hook for it. And when it finally came up to me to use a hook, I basically created an empty games array again. But this time we passed the entire games column, the games table, into the child prop for solved. And then if you go into the drop cards and you go into the solved component, you see that the props for games have been passed through. And we basically pulled the current score from the score column from the game. And then it renders here and it'll update based on the current game. And some of the future nice to haves that we wanted is to add sound. We also wanted to add some sign language inclusive activities, as well as therapeutic exercises that help them learn about self-awareness. One of the biggest things was the social interaction. So we wanted to also add social activities for the child to play with the parent or teacher, whoever is supervising them. And also we wanted to add a translation and badge system for rewards. But we hope you like it.
Definitely. And also, we wanted to thank our instructors, Jim, Shubra, MFA, and last but not least, Taina, that was always there to give us a hand. So thank you. This was an amazing experience.
I would like to thank everyone too, and especially like my group mates. Thank you for putting trust in this and all the love that was put into this.
Yeah, I would also like to thank everyone, and especially my teammates who were very supportive, and I wouldn't be able to do this without their constant help and support. And of course, to the CodeOp, thanks to CodeOp's family, Jim, Mafa, Shubra, Taina. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Wonderful. Okay. Any questions for the team?
When can we get this up to show it around?
Sorry, I can't hear you, Andrea. Can you say that again?
So when we can get this app out on the market to show it around.
Cool, cool. Yes, indeed, it's very creative. Love all the work you guys have put into it. So we'll move on to the last team from PD for today to present. You guys have, it's you up now.
So, hi everybody. We are Catherine, Andrea, and I'm Sabrina. During the course of the presentation, we will alternate between each other and cover different parts of the application. The name of the app we created is RentMate, and RentMate is landlord review app, which basically allows current or past tenants to review apartments and houses they have lived in the past. And especially with RentMate, you can review the experience you had with the landlord. So RentMate also allows future tenants to make informed decisions researching the apartment they have their interest in the database which we created. The idea of RentMate came from our common experiences renting apartments. Even though we live in different parts of the world, it seems like the world is very small when you have to deal with landlords. And we decided to start this presentation by showcasing the app. So let's go there.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I'm gonna just run a quick demo on the app before we jump into the specifics. So this is the homepage of our app. And let's say we are Jim coming to live to Barcelona and he needs to rent a flat. So, but he finds a flat that he likes, but before moving in, he wants to know if past tenants have had some issues or if it's a good flat to live in. So he could come in here and look for the flat. So for example, let's say this is a fake address, but let's say it exists. So he would look for the flat he's looking for, and it will appear here. This is the exact direction we put. And there's some other flats on the area. But let's say that he didn't know the exact direction and he just put maybe the postcode. We would still get to a page with all the postcodes where the flats are. So let's say it was not this one he was looking for, but it was this one. He could go in and check what people have said of this flat. So the rooms it has, the bathrooms, how was the cleanliness, the repairs, the deposit, everything that other users had to say about it. You could see the reviews they left. You could also enter some reviews from here, extra reviews for the flat. And there's also a map API that will locate the approximate area of the flat on a map. So you know more or less if that could be the flat you're looking for. You could also list a flat yourself. If you have lived somewhere and you've had a good or a bad experience and you want to let the world know, you could come in here. I've prepared some fake data to not have to type it out everything. So let's say, I'll put it actually on my town. Let's say we want to put this flat in. Flat. We could also put some images. And we could leave some comments about it. So if how it went with the landlord, the communication, the renting experience, and some review we want to leave here. And we could post the flat. We would see that it takes us to this page where the flat is posted, and we can see everything that we've put in and also the geolocation on the map. We also have an FAQ page that you can pause on the recording if you want to read it. And also an about page that we talk a little bit about the app and about us, and also a place to reach us if you need anything. And so I will hand over to Catherine to go more into specifics.
Okay, I'll just make sure I'm on the right screen.
Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Good. Oh, that's the wrong slide though. No. Okay. So we built our app using React, and we had a MySQL database on the back end. And we also used Node.js and Express in the middle. And we had the Mapbox API integrated, and we also used Leaflet for our maps. So I'll go into that shortly. So I'll just show the database and the code first. How do I get rid of the thing at the top? There we go. Okay, so these are our database tables. So we have a properties, reviews, and users table. And the users one is there, but not in use at the moment because we didn't do a complete user authentication. But so we have our properties with all the details that you just saw on the demo, as well as some additional location data. And then we also have the reviews with the review form information, and the property and reviews tables are linked by the property ID. And so the idea is you could have several reviews for one property, and they would take the property ID in there. So I'll show you this. And yeah, this is just it in the app. And then I'll just show you some of the roots files. So this is how where our backend connected to the front end. So we have a file for the properties where we dealt with with posting the data into the database. And this is where I brought in the Mapbox Geocoding Api, which I decided to call in the backend as the data was going into the database from the form. So with that, I had to put in a list of countries from another library just to validate the data that was coming in. And then in the front end, that then fetched the country code. You can see it just in the state there. And then the Mapbox API takes the postcode and the country code. And I found that on the whole, that got quite an accurate location. With just the postcode, it was a bit random because sometimes they can be quite non-specific. But once you got the country code in there, then it worked. So yeah, when the data went in, it calls the Mapbox API, and that returns the coordinates, which are then posted into the database. And then they are used on the front end to render this map. So Leaflet just takes the coordinates of the center of the postcode as the center. And then I've just put the circle here to show that it's like a non-specific location. So that was, yeah, that's pretty much the back end. We've also got this file specifically for the searches because we had to set it up so that you could kind of just search for the postcode or just search for the city or all of them. And we needed to be able to get like the nearby properties as well as the exact match. But Andrea will talk about that as well shortly. But yeah, I will pass it back on now. I think to Sabrina.
Yes, it's me.
Cool.
So where are we? Sorry, I'm looking for the right screen. Here. Okay. So I'd like to highlight how we got organized during the past 3 weeks. We basically became best friends. We were talking more or less every day over Zoom, and also using Slack. We have this huge history, and then we use different other software. But I think that probably the nicest and the most representative product which we can show you is, can you see my next screen? Can you see the README?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's something that we are kind of quite proud of. We did quite a good job from the very beginning, starting to take notes in here, and we added basically every step of the project. We use this open source, which is called HackMD, which allows you to push directly on GitHub. So everything is already on our GitHub in here, exactly as it looks like on HackMD. And what I'm pretty proud to say is that we defined very good musts at the beginning of the project, and we managed to stick onto them and realize them. We decided to not to go, for example, for the user verification and user authentication, because that would have represented a job for itself. But we also wanted to prioritize what we thought was a priority for us and what would have made a good, what would have satisfied us at the very end. During the creation of the application, we kind of fell into different roles, even though we were wearing multiple hats and supporting each other. And we were kind of all collaborating, but there were different main roles which we kind of fell into. And I was mostly on the front end and kind of user experience and a little bit of rendering. And probably something that we did and add to the README that is interesting to show is how we thought the page would look like and how they ended up looking. So this is the search result page, and this is how it looks like at the end. And the same for the page, which allows you to to watch the flag. Something that I would also like to highlight is that from a front end point of view, we use mostly Bootstrap to create the different components, a little bit of CSS, because we couldn't really settle on a logo for our app. We decided to settle on a mascot, and we have this bouncing house at the beginning. When it comes to the search result page, we added some feature just to make it a little bit more appealing. So we have this shadowing and this overflow feature in here. Something that we did, because we didn't do the login experience, we didn't do the verification, we did decide to create a login front-end experience, which I'm happy to show you in the code here. Okay. So basically it's based out of two different components. We have the login component, which is basically the engine of the login. And then we have the form. And again, like this is just a mock experience. And so you have an object which is which basically allows you to log in if a certain conditions are met, if the condition in the object are met. And how it works on the front end is that when you try to log in, you can enter your name, so I'm Sabrina from group 3, and I enter my email address, and if I enter a wrong password, the app tells me immediately that the password is not correct and is not matching. But if I enter the correct one, I'm allowed to log in. So, and that's it. And I can go back to the main page. That's it on my side. I'm happy to pass it on to Andrea again.
Hi again. So I will talk a little bit. Can you see my screen?
You can, yes.
Yeah, okay. So I will talk a little bit to linking to organization, the two tools that we use the most. It's the Jira and the Git Kraken, and I'm quite proud of both. So I will start with Jira. We used this kind of organization to list all the tasks we need to do, and we assigned them an owner. And they were moving to progress or to done to let each other know, even when we were not online, which was rare that we were not, what we were doing. So we would move them around to in progress or done. And this was taken from Donna's idea from our cohort to make an error log, to log all these configuration annoying errors that we get. We logged them all in here with some screenshots. And so we could, if we ever encountered them in the future, we also got the solution and what we needed to do to not go through that again. And I will also like to show you our fantastic Git Kraken, we decided to work with branches instead of with forks because we thought it would be easier. So what we did is that we were creating branches not per person but per task. So each of us was working on a different thing usually. So we would create a branch, and these are all commits we did. We only committed stable versions of the app with some progress, and then we merged every day to the main branch, and we pulled every day, and we met sometimes to solve merging conflicts because sometimes we had to work on the same component and that we couldn't avoid it, but we managed to actually get good versions on main every time, so we could keep working on it every day, and I'm happy about that. And now I will talk about a little bit about the role I kind of took, which is the connection between front-end and backend.
5 minutes.
So, okay, thank you. So for example, let's say I'm going to show you a little bit of the code. The thing that I worked on the most and that drove me crazy was you can see that we have some routes in here and there's a lot of props coming and going past up and down, like there's map props, property props, review props. So it was a bit of a challenge to connect them all. So for example, on our view flat page, the view flat page, it's this one, for example, this one. See how I got in through a click from here, but we also got in here before filling a form and creating this page. So there's many ways where you can come in. There's many routes where the props have to move up and down. So we had to create these different variables depending on where you came from. We used different fetches depending if we came from a click, from a form. So we had to render all them conditionally depending on which props we had filled and which we hadn't. And this was a bit of a challenge. And we also used, for example, for the search bar, this search bar in here. As Catherine mentioned before, we had to make sure that, like I'm doing right now, with just the postcode, it would find something and not, we shouldn't need to put the whole direction because in most renting sites, you don't know the whole direction. So I managed to set this up. Sorry, 1 second. Here, this routing up. So we could conditionally search on the database. So the MySQL query is built with the code. So we keep adding pieces of information to the final query to look into the database for what we need. And I think that's mostly what I wanted to talk about. But if you have more code questions later, we can tackle them. And oh, sorry, I'll share again. And that's mostly the end of the presentation. Sabrina, if you want to talk a bit about stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to say that I think this collaboration went very well. We enjoyed working together. We were sharing the pain, the stress, and a lot during the past 3 weeks. It's been very helpful from a project perspective to work with different coders and different people on the same code, and especially Git Kraken kind of made our life better and easier once we understood how it worked. Andrea was a big supporter of Git Kraken and kind of made us all fans of the app. And yeah, so anybody else wants to add anything?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I think it was quite an interesting experience going from working on your own projects where you very much just feel the burden of the whole thing to actually working with people and splitting it up and remembering that you're not doing it alone is really nice. And having people to like work through bugs with and stuff. So yeah, it was good.
And I agree with Kat and with Sabrina that it was great working together, and they were a lot there for me in the panic moments because I panic a lot. And in the end, it was not so serious. Like we made a good team, and I felt very supported. I hope I did my best to support you as well. And we had a good time, and we learned a lot of things that we didn't really cover in the bootcamp. Like they were there, but we managed to go so much in depth. And I really liked to come in every morning and finding code that I didn't write. That's the best feeling in the world, that someone did this and I can use it. It's amazing. So thank you all for the ride. It was great.
That would be so cool. I put it out in the real world, you know, people want to write about what they experienced. Okay, I think that's us. PT4, any questions for the last group? Great comments for you guys. And yeah.
One thing I'm curious about, all the projects, which were all super original and useful and creative, and I love them all 4 of them. In past final presentations, there was a lot more talk about the biggest challenge was GitHub. Using GitHub in a team context, but I hardly heard that at all today, and I'm curious why.
Git Kraken.
Not only that, a lot of team learning, team building together.
Impressive, because like I said, working on your first collaborative project with GitHub can be really, really challenging.
For our team, I think, yeah, we did use Git Kraken. I think at some moments, honestly, initially, Tyna said to us, oh, just test it out a little bit before you start using it properly. I think that was the best suggestion ever.
Yeah, I'll second that.
You look at it, you think, oh, okay, yeah, I know what I'm doing. And then you start using it and you're like, okay, crap, what does this do? I don't know. How does this work? So yeah, honestly, that was probably the best suggestion ever. I think what was also challenging with our team was migrating from using the terminal into doing certain commands within Git Kraken, and what to actually, and also what to just do on GitHub. So I think we kind of ended up with a system where we update certain things on Git Kraken, but when it came to pull requests, personally, I found it easier to just do a pull request on GitHub directly, and then kind of go from there. But yeah, it was challenging.
So there have been a lot of comments from in the Zoom chat from like people who are just starting, and they're saying, "Oh my God, I'm intimidated." And I said, "Don't worry, PT4 was saying all that when they were watching someone else's final presentations."
Exactly.
You've come a long way.
Cool. Congratulations, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, the cohort, for being awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
And thank you, Donna, for being like the most encouraging, if I can dare speak for anybody else, being pretty much the most encouraging person on the whole cohort. That's how I feel anyway.
Possibly that I've ever met.
Correct, on the whole planet. I agree.
Yeah, I agree as well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go hide right now.
I honestly feel bad that no one else is gonna have Donna in their cohort. Sorry, we hogged her this time. You'll have to find your own Donna.
I'm totally hiding now.
Definitely, she was amazing. She was really amazing. Really cool. Thank you, Donna.
You guys made it more enjoyable for me, and I didn't think that I would have this much fun. This was like the best decision of my life.
Oh, nice. Cool.
So, is that a wrap?
Yeah, I was
Any other?
Oh my gosh.
Ruth.
Well done, everybody.
Hi, Ruth.
Hi, how's it going? Well done, everybody. I was just going to jump in here because it seems like everyone was kind of waiting to see what was happening next.
We're waiting for you, Ruth.
Well done for everyone. It's really, really amazing to see how far you've come. I'm sure now you want to just have some rest, close your computers, don't look at any code for a little while. I think the plan is that next week you will get all the information about Career Week and the next steps with that. So for now, it's a long weekend for most of you, I think. So just relax, rest. Amefa will be there on the first day of Career Week to tell you the plan, because the journey is not over yet. You've still got a couple of weeks of work to do. And I think everybody always thinks, oh, we've done the project, Career Week's going to be easy. There's still work to do. But yeah, rest before then. And I'd just say thank you very much, Shubra. Thank you very much, Jim. Well done for all your work. And Ty, I can see you there. And for anybody who joined, who it was their first time seeing CodeOp projects, thanks for joining. I hope you enjoyed them. They were definitely very, very impressive, and they've really raised the CodeOp bar. So I hope to see you all again at another event in the future. Well done, everybody. Oh, Ty, you've unmuted. You want to say something? I can see it. Of course, you have to say some words. I mean, you've been with this class all the way.
You're the host.
We need to hear, and you are the host for a reason. So fire away, Ty.
We love you.
I knew that was going to come up for Ty. Go on, Ty.
So I just would like to say that I'm very proud of you, and I got involved more than I thought, and I will miss you all. And I'm very impressed with all of the projects. I think you should be proud of yourselves and focus on things that you can control. This is important as well. And that's it.
Thank you, Taina. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Taina. You're the best.
All right, great projects, everyone. Fantastic.
Well done, everyone. Round of applause
Impressive.
for everyone.
Awesome.
All the best to the new cohort.
They were messaging in their Slack going, we're never going to be able to do this. And I promise.
Oh, just watch.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will.
Just watch. Yes.
You can always reach out to us too.
Yeah, you know where to find them. Amefa, just before you all go, Amefa has sent me a quick message. Unfortunately, she can't unmute because we actually were hosting some other presentations and she's in that one. But there's some homework on your Trello boards. Sorry. For Career Week. So maybe just take a look. Not right now, but at some point over the next few days. Just a reminder there. Sorry, I told you it doesn't get. It hasn't quite ended yet.
Just when we thought we can be relieved.
Yeah, well, you can celebrate first and then look at the homework. Perfect. Well done, everybody. Thanks very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.